Lou. So I was kind of confused when I first saw Solo, not because the movie is confusing or anything, but because of the little cameo at the end. So yes, this does include spoilers, just in case you weren't sure. So at the end of Solo, a character appears who is Darth Maul. And I was like, huh, this is a little strange. I don't really get why he is here. And that is because I only had experience in watching the shows and movies thus far. Unless you include the Ahsoka novel, then I guess one book for all this new canon stuff. So anyway, because of how abruptly the Clone Wars had ended the TV show, I was like, huh, I don't really get it. And the Ahsoka novel just kind of made it more confusing because I don't. That little bit about her being on Mandalore was like, what? This never happened in the show. So I'm gonna try to explain a little bit. I know that people have shown the timeline of how everything interacts, but I did some Wikipedia research of some of these books that I haven't read, and I guess they were supposed to be episodes. But regardless, let's go ahead and check out my timeline that I made. So, this is just a very rudimentary little timeline thing. Hopefully you can read it well enough. I tried to put in some main points in the text, and then I just wrote in some extra stuff. So, we start the timeline here at Maul appears. Oops, it's not a brush. Let's go ahead and do something like it's dark red. Okay, this is Maul. He appears in Star Wars: The Clone Wars, the TV show. And this is 20 BBY. This is just before the New Republic starts, I guess. Or you can say like when the first Death Star explodes. So, the Clone Wars itself began 2 years prior, but Maul first appears in the TV show in the Brothers episode when Savage Opress finds Maul. Okay. After that episode, they do some pirate stuff, as you see in my timeline. Now I kind of just crossed it out. Pirate stuff. They attack some random things, they kill some Jedi, they fight Obi-Wan a couple times, and this all leads to Maul becoming a crime lord. And this is very important, because this is what makes me so confused. Okay, so Maul becomes a crime lord in the TV show. And this leads to multiple things. First of all, he takes over Mandalore. Very important. Okay. You see this in the show, and this leads up to the episode called Lawless. This part right here. This is the Siege of Mandalore. And during the Siege of Mandalore, Obi-Wan is the only person of the Republic that is there in this episode. It's basically a civil war with Bo something, I can't remember her name. Bo Kanta, or Katan. Bo Katan cries. I don't know how to actually pronounce that, but okay. And that name is important because it's Satine's sister, who is the current leader of Mandalore, but gets overthrown by Maul and the Death Watch with Isla. I can't remember his first name. But anyway, so during this Civil War event, which is in between year 20 and year 19, Sidious goes to Mandalore because he senses his apprentice, right? He kills Savage and captures Maul. Okay, so now we get to this little thing called Son of Dathomir, which is not the TV show, which was supposed to be a TV show, but it got cut out for time because they were getting canceled. So I don't know if this is going to be in this new 7th season or what. So far, it's in this book, which is a 4-part book, or maybe it's more of a comic, I don't know. I just know it's called Darth Maul, Son of Dathomir. And this is important because this says that, as most people assumed, that Sidious captures Darth Maul. And he takes him to a prison with some Mandalorians. Now, in this thing, Son of Dathomir, Darth Maul does some stuff. He fights people, and he has a final battle with Sidious, Grievous, and Dooku, with Mother Talza and himself on Dathomir. Okay, so after this final battle, he escapes. So that's like the one big thing, which is like, alright, so I know that from the TV show, Maul appears in Rebels, so obviously he had escaped from Sidious. But I never knew how, and you never knew, like, basically just didn't know how, because it goes from Sidious capturing Maul here to Maul appearing in Rebels here. And in this appearance in Rebels, he's a lot older, but he also looks weaker. He looks more worn, I guess. Worn and torn is like the best way to say it. It's like it seems like his fighting days are over pretty much. So after the Son of Dathomir thing, Maul escapes, and that's the end of that. Okay, so he goes from appearing to becoming like himself again. He becomes a crime lord. He takes over Mandalore for a short period of time. There's a siege of Mandalore, where it's basically a Mandalorian civil war, with Obi-Wan being there. But Obi-Wan escapes, and they say, send in the Republic because we need help. Or Bo-Katan says, send in the Republic because we need help. Because it's the crime lord people with Death Watch and all those crime families versus the quote-unquote true Mandalorians. Okay, so Order 66 happens, and that's at 19. And then we get to the Ahsoka novel, which is the only one that I've really read that's relevant to this. So in the Ahsoka novel, Ahsoka has like a little flashback kind of thing, which made me go, what the heck is going on? Because this did not happen in the show. So in the Ahsoka novel, she has a flashback to where her and Rex are on Mandalore fighting Maul. I'm like, what the heck? This was not in the show. This couldn't be in the show because during this episode with the Siege of Mandalore, Sidious captures Maul. So how can Ahsoka, who is not there, go and fight Maul? In the books Son of Dathomir, there's some battles going on, but it just makes it confusing. Because in like the first part, Sidious captures Maul in the first book, and then Maul escapes also in the first book. So in the second and third book, he's kind of going around, so I'm guessing he must have somehow gone back to Mandalore after getting captured, and there's still crime lord people fighting even though their leader got captured. And that's when Ahsoka and Rex fight him. So that's a little confusing. I don't know if the book got written before the show got canceled or what, but that part was a little confusing. So the idea is Sidious captures Maul. Maul escapes. He goes back to his holdings that his crime lord families still hold. The Republic comes in. Ahsoka and Rex fight him again. And I think they're supposed to capture him, but that doesn't make sense. So this thing is weird. I don't know. It says that it's canon, so we'll just say that they fight. Okay. But all this is before Order 66. And then the Ahsoka novel takes place after Order 66. That's just a flashback. So then we have to go with the assumption that Maul escapes, right? So he is somewhere in the Empire, because now in this part of the timeline right here, it's the Galactic Empire. And so Maul is assumably in hiding. I don't think there's a book right now that tells anything else, because Son of Dathomir ends after he escapes Dathomir from Sidious and Dooku and Grievous, and it says that like he's like destroyed, like all his ambitions are gone, that kind of stuff, and he poses no more threat to Sidious. So the main point to take out of this Clone Wars era is Sidious forms a crime syndicate, takes over some places, primarily Mandalore, with the crime family. He gets captured by Sidious, but escapes Sidious. And then this Ahsoka novel thing will just kind of be like, I don't know, just a random thing that somehow occurred in between all that. But then we get to here, where in 13 BBY is the beginning of Solo, and then it does a flash forward to 10, and at the end of Solo, Maul is starting another crime syndicate. And this was confusing enough without knowing this prior knowledge, but it begs the question, why? Okay, the first crime syndicate did not work out very well. It only attracted the attention of Sidious, getting his brother killed, getting himself captured, and destroying most of, well, pretty much everyone gets destroyed by the end of it. Because the Republic comes in, the Separatists come in, and they destroy all these people, I'm pretty sure. Like, that venture is well beyond repair. So, why is he trying to start another syndicate again if it did not work so well the first time? Like, not working well the first time is an understatement. It was a disaster. Let's just put it that way. Like, there's I don't know if this new like season of Clone Wars is gonna like put some revelations in this, but as I see it now, Maul starts a crime syndicate. Maul's crime syndicate gets destroyed because Sidious notices it. Maul gets captured because of that. Maul barely escapes capture. Well, Maul barely escapes after capture. Goes into hiding and says, the best thing I could do now is the exact same thing that got me captured and almost killed. It's like, that just makes me so confused. So, even, I don't know if there's any other thing, but now we get to the rebellion phase of this story, because Maul appears in Rebels in 3 BBY. So 7 years later, after we see that little cameo in Solo, which still doesn't make sense to me. Like, not only as like a timeline thing based on the TV shows, but also a sense thing. Like, it makes no sense. Why would he go back to doing the same thing that got him almost killed and captured? So, we get to the Maul appearance in Rebel, And this is when Maul is torn and tattered and old, and he looks crippled, but he can still move around, but he's definitely in hiding, and he's trying not to be found. Like, key thing. Like, he's trying to avoid the Empire. He's not trying to start some business up. And he is on Mandalore when Kanan and Ezra and Ahsoka find him. So he's trying to do some tricky stuff there with a temple, a Sith temple. But the key thing is, he doesn't have a crime syndicate, so what happened to that? I don't know what happened here in Solo to make them think that, yeah, we should make him appear again 9 years later with a crime family, even though that was a bad venture for him in the first place. So that kind of makes it a little confusing to me. But then he appears here, which would make sense because he escapes Sidious after he got captured, and then he's in hiding the whole time trying to avoid the Empire, which is what the Rebels thing kind of shows. He's been trying to avoid them. He's a shadow. Everyone knows that he's dangerous, but he's like not as good as his former self. It's basically just a pain. He's not gonna like destroy them or anything, but they still try to hunt the shadow because he escaped Sidious. Okay. So then 1 year later, like, Maul escapes Mandalore, Ezra and Kanan escape Mandalore, Ahsoka stays behind to hold off Vader. But Maul's long gone at that point anyway, and his Mandalore venture failed. But he tries to hook up with Ezra again and do some stuff, and it leads to him finding Obi-Wan. And that's the last we see of Maul, because this fight is very epic. If you have not seen it, it's worth looking into, even if you just look at the clips on YouTube of the actual fight. The story itself is cool, but you can kind of get the emotional sense even just watching the clips. Okay, so Maul is gone in 2 BBY, and then A New Hope is 2 years later. So that's basically the Maul timeline of this Clone Wars TV show with some books to the Rebels TV show and then the Solo movie. So to me, it still doesn't make sense that he's in the Solo movie with how he appears to be. Like, if he was, like, rumored there's a shadow in the underworld, that would make more sense. But he's the head of a crime syndicate again, which was just like, what? Because if you look at it through just the TV shows, even the books, he goes from barely escaping with his life after forming a crime syndicate, so he goes in hiding from Sidious, to starting a crime syndicate again randomly, and then he's in hiding again in Rebels. So it's just very strange to see that. I don't know if they made anything else yet about Maul, but yeah, it's just it's a little weird and I don't understand it, and hopefully this next season of Clone Wars might do something to put some revelations into why he's starting another crime syndicate in the first place, instead of just keeping in hiding and trying to find the best place to strike, rather than I'm gonna come at you with an army again. Yeah, so I just thought it was a little weird, so I looked it up, because a lot of these YouTube videos just kind of say the events rather than like the actual things that happen in the events. So I don't know if that clears anything up. I just wanted to like talk about this because it still confuses me, and yeah, it was just my thoughts on this whole Maul thing.